So, so we are live now.
Okay, hope I'm audible. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm Saransh Guha, your host for today, and I welcome you all to the Soul Show. The Soul Show, a tech talk for shaping the future of digital identity. Today's topic is going to be unlocking the future and exploring interoperability's role in decentralized finance as well as next generation identity solutions. Now, please join me in welcoming and let me introduce our esteemed guest speaker for today, Nitesh Mishra, the founder of Chidex and Bramble. Uh, Welcome, Nilesh.
Hi, Sharon.
Nitesh,
Thank you.
hi. Nitesh epitomizes the essence of a visionary entrepreneur, immersing himself in deeply in the dynamic realms of blockchain, Web3 development, and AI/ML analysis. Without Now, beyond being a technologist, Nitesh also assumes the role of a discerning critic, meticulously examining the intricate details and dynamics of the Web3 ecosystem. With a proven track record of leading Web3 companies from inception to scalable heights, Nitesh's expertise spans across Python programming, machine learning algorithms, blockchain technology, and tokenomics. His current mission, although right now, is to unravel the complexities of interoperability and pave the way for a seamless digital future in decentralized finance. At Chidex, Nitesh spearheads a groundbreaking initiative, a multi chain hybrid DEX that revolutionizes not only the decentralized trading protocols by eliminating the need of bridging solutions or wrap tokens, but also his comprehensive skill set also encompasses market research, product development, and profound understanding of the cryptocurrency landscape. Beyond his professional endeavors, Nitesh draws inspiration from New Age economists, delving deep into the intersection of technology and ideology to seek insights that transcend the boundaries of more innovation. His unwavering commitment to innovation and excellence underscores his invaluable contributions to the industry. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Nitesh Mishra as we embark on a journey of insight and exploration into the future of decentralized technologies. Over to you, Nitesh. A few words about yourself as well from your end.
Thanks a lot, Sharon. I don't think there's anything pending from my end to actually introduce you. Done quite a well job. I mean, more than well job. Maybe I'll copy my introduction next time when I'm watching this clip. So I may use those very same lines for myself. Maybe I'm underselling myself or something in the market. I don't know. But thanks a lot for a very good introduction, and I'm really glad to be here. And one of the things that we are going to discuss today, which are very close to my heart, and I believe this is quite a right time for us to understand why we are talking about these things is interoperability and also the decentralized identity. So these are the very two important and very intrinsic problem that a blockchain is solving, and also at the very same time, it still needs to be solved blockchain as well. So that's one of the reasons why I'm here, and yeah, let's have some let's talk about it. And anybody has any questions, definitely we're open to it.
Absolutely. So we do have a format of sorts that has been already in place by our speakers already. So I think we'll just jump it right at it with the questions, and then we'll take the audience questions towards the end of the segment. So starting with the whole space in general, Nitesh, drawing your extensive experience, could you provide a basic overview of the whole specific interoperability challenges impeding the DeFi's growth in general? And what are the primary technical, regulatory, and infrastructural barriers that you perceive as most critical? And how does your experience intend to address them in Chidex?
Perfect. So I'll start with the first set of your question of how I see this journey of interoperability. So the very first thing we need to realize when we talk about interoperability is that we're not just talking about a mechanism where we're able to compare things or send communication across from one chain to other chain. I mean, that's what interoperability is. But at the very same time, interoperability solves one of the most essential problems in the blockchain, and that is making sure that the source of truth is one. So, for example, when I say what do you mean by source of truth being one? So, for example, if I have in future, if some of us wants to have our, let's say, some property papers as NFTs or SBTs or any sort of virtual digital asset, so that property should be only one in nature. So, for example, if I'm creating that property paper using, Ethereum's virtual machine, then it should not happen that somebody else is copying the same property paper and uploading it on Solana's ecosystem, or using some other chain's ecosystem to to counter attack me, or to threaten me or something like that. So this is a very essential problem that I think it's not being talked in the market pretty often, and it's very much I don't know, but I think it's pretty undersold in the market as well. But this is an impending doom that will happen if not taken care of now. I mean, we are at a very initial stage, at such a stage where things are building, people are trying to accept, people are trying to understand. But when these things become mainstream, we have to also realize that this is one of the problems, one of the biggest problems that will still be pending to solve, if not solved from day one, like from today itself. So when I talk about interoperability, definitely I'm talking about communication from one protocol to another protocol for everybody to understand what every other blockchain is speaking. But at the very same time, I'm also talking about having single source of truth, one truth that can be verified by multiple chains, or multiple ecosystems or multiple protocols. So that is what I really mean by interoperability whenever I'm speaking about it. That's the first thing. The second thing is, when we talk about the regulatory or some sort of different hindrance, uh, considering interoperability or decentralized identity as well. So the very first hindrance that I see is not from regulatory point of view. I mean, it's from the I believe it's from the business point of view. For example, there are same businesses or same contracts can be copied on different protocols. Okay, and not necessarily by the same company or by the same team. And it can mean anything. Like, it can go in any direction. And that is what the problem with our current Web3 system is. There are multiple frauds. There are no barrier entry is so low that anybody can basically come inside the ecosystem, try to mimic or ape a very existing, very successful ecosystem, and maybe try to create some scams. And since all of us are learning about it, so some of us may learn very wrong things about those ecosystems. So that is one thing that I personally believe is more of an hindrance rather than regulations. Yes, regulations will come. We all will have to comply. Regulations, I think most of the times are going to be similar, and those regulations are going to be there to prevent the general public of a general state. For example, definitely a country, would never like to have any sort of malpractices going on in any industry, or people being cheated in any format. And since we are so high on finance, I mean, the whole Web3 ecosystem is so high on finance and financial financial tradings, that we have to take care about that. So regulations are always welcome. I mean, I don't think currently in this scenario, interoperability or decentralized identity, it will work as an hindrance. But definitely the other systems will work as an hindrance. The scams, they are the biggest hindrance rather than anything else.
Very well framed. I think piracy and IP are the key features
Right.
why we are actually looking forward to interoperability per se. But I think DeFi as a collection, like for a layman, I mean, imagine DeFi or decentralized finance as a collection of siloed islands, right? Each
Mhm.
island or blockchain has its own currency, its applications, and its sets of
Right.
users. Interacting between them requires a complex bridge, like similar
Very
to
complex.
traveling
Yeah.
by boat or cruise between
Mhm.
unconnected land masses. Right, this fragment hinders the liquidity flow in general, and
Right.
the user
Right.
experience and the overall ecosystem growth. So I believe that's where Chidex would eventually step up the game
For
and
sure.
solve most of our concerns. Okay. Moving forward, I think so. The next, uh, probably the next topic that I want to touch base upon is the very key one from derived right from our topic. So, from your perspective, how do you envision SSI or self sovereign identity influencing and benefiting the current generation in terms of identity management and digital sovereignty?
So I believe that this is also one of the things that as we started speaking about interoperability. So this thing will actually enable the other aspects of interoperability. So for example, when you have self sovereignty of the identity. So what? So there was a panel where I was asked what are the moral challenges of Web3. So that was one of the questions that I was asked. And I was like, there's no moral challenges of Web3, to be frank. The reason why there are no moral challenges of Web3 right now is because Web3 is a solution to already existing problems in Web2. And one of the biggest problems in Web2 is definitely that you do not own your identity over there. Okay, and your data is being used by any big company. I mean, there are only 4 to 5 big companies in the market that are we all know their names, and they are using our data for their benefit, not for our benefit. And the worst part is, it's not that I can understand they're a big business. All of them have to make money, so they're using our data. The worst part is our data is also being manipulated. So, I mean, these companies, they manipulate these datas, and they make us believe into things that would have never come to our mind. So that is the biggest problem. So it happens because they hold the access to your data, which you're not earning. You're not getting any. You're not getting paid for any of those of whatever online activities that you do. You're not even a custodian of your own data. You cannot sell your data because there's nothing like that. The rules and regulations devised by the regulatory bodies do not allow you to sell your data, but at the very same time it does not even stops these big companies from selling your data or using your data the way they want to. So at the end of the day, you're always in the hands of these people. So for example, if anything goes wrong from private companies, you go to regulatory bodies. If anything goes wrong from regulatory bodies, you again go back to these private companies to lodge your complaints. I mean, you're always being played by them. So this is one of the biggest problems that is existing in Web 2, and I think Web 3 is the moral solution of that existing problem. And SSI is basically playing the very that itself is being solved by decentralized identity, self sovereign identities. So these are the things that I think needs to be included, and I think they are included in most of the solutions. And if not included, then I would definitely suggest all the DeFi users and all the people who are in Web3 to actually go out and explore, because this will give you the identity that you require to to be on a network, to interact with other people on the network, to understand, to take control of your data back to yourself. And maybe in future you'll be able to also, not in future, I think you still can, in some ways or the other, if somebody builds a solution, you can start maximizing the benefits of owning your data by selling it to the people that you like, or selling it to the company that you like, and earning something from it. So I mean, these things will be enabled only if Web3 is enabled in a very proper direction. If SSIs are improved, are implemented in multiple solutions. And as I said, my whole advocacy is towards this single source of truth. So SSIs in these case, or decentralized identities in these case, becomes your central, your one piece of truth, or your center of truth. So these are very important. In I personally believe like DeFi plays, people who are working in DeFi, they need to really consider having these sets of solutions with them.
I absolutely agree. I think decentralization, like especially us being the advocates of Web3 in general, decentralization is currently the solution that we see for most of the
Right.
problems that we are coming up with on the centralized ecosystems. I think I'll just add like an analogy, probably bridging the same experience that I mentioned earlier. So your text probably acts like a futuristic airport connecting these islands, like I mentioned earlier. So you leverage interoperability protocols and to enable seamless asset transfer as well as communication across different blockchains eventually. So it could be more like
Right.
a standardized flight system travel freely between your DeFi platforms and with their digital assets. And something similar
Right.
is what we aim to do even in Solverse's super wallet that we're building. So basically, you can actually get control over all your data, like you rightly mentioned, as well as all your digital assets, all at the same place, right? So I
That's
think we
super
are
cool.
all moving towards the common decentralization goals.
Right. Right.
So
That's true.
it's cool. Moving forward, touching base on the same lines of decentralized identity SSI solutions like ours, we play a major crucial role in secure and user control identity management. How does Chidex maintain security while embracing innovation? Could you also detail out some of the security measures and protocols you employ to safeguard user assets and transactions across blockchains? Since you mentioned about security.
Right. Right. So, there is no trade secret as such. Why there is no trade secret? Because we operate in a very transparent manner. So first of all, there are a few things that the blockchain itself has enabled when it comes to security. Is it is first of all very transparent. You can keep a track of all sorts of histories. You can keep a track of your digital assets. You can also keep track of the amount of the amount of money spent to purchase a certain digital asset, NFT, VDA, any sort of VDA, basically crypto or anything like that. So basically, Chidex does nothing, but Chidex ultimately takes help from these protocols itself to enable the security. So by far, let me tell you a couple of things. If you may have heard about any hack that's happening on any of the decentralized ecosystem. I mean, not all ecosystems are decentralized. Let's be clear about it. There are multiple ecosystems that are kind of centralized but are masked as if they are very decentralized in nature. So they're not. Okay, they're using decentralized architecture in some way or the other. But at the end of the day, they're essentially working as a Web2, how a Web2 company works. So that we have to first get it clear. Second, the problem is most of the hacks. If I have to take you to 2022, the year I believe most of the hacks happened. 2022 was the year I personally believe like most of the hacks happened. Hacks were so brutal that at one point many people got their wallets drained. So there were such bad hacks. These happened because of the bridging solutions. People started using bridging solutions, a very desperate solution or a very desperate solution to a very important question. The question was how to interact with other protocol. Okay, that is not built on the same virtual machine. That was the question. And the desperate solution was the bridging solutions. So these bridging solutions were essentially run by both the parties of both the protocols, and the incentivization was also not great. So the security itself was not of very great quality, and since security wasn't of great quality, it was taken care by only few individuals. Okay, the nodes were very less, and again you had to depend on those people in order to make sure that whatever transaction you're doing cross chain, you have to depend on those people. Now since we already know the very basic thing, whenever somebody starts learning about web3 or blockchain in general, is that we should create a solution where trust is not an option, verification should be an option. Always verify, never trust. So that essentially was not being solved by these bridging solutions. In fact, they were doing very much again exactly opposite of what the basics of blockchain taught us. So that's one of the reasons why hack actually quite a lot of hacking took place. So Chidex here came as a solution. We are not. I'm not pitching myself as a know all the one code that solves all problems on all the protocols. No, nothing like that. But Chidex comes as a solution where you don't have to trust, but you can verify at every given point of time. So we have a relayer layer that actually makes sure that it's built on the very security layer or the very contract layer or the product layer of different protocols, and they interact with each other. That's it. That's as simple as that. So Chidex, we are also proud to say that we are pretty chain agnostic. Like we're not built for one ecosystem. We're not built for one protocol. We're not built for one L1 as such. Okay, we are built for almost every L1s. So what we do is we enable the communication because we understand the languages on both the sides, and which is, I think, still one of the biggest problems that the industry is not actually focusing or not trying to understand. That the languages of these protocols are different. The virtual machines on which they are built are different, and they do not understand each other. This is the very, very basic problem, and this is where Chidex comes as the solution in between, where we understand everybody's solution, and we, without being the custodians, we enable the transfers. So we don't hold custody to any asset at any given point of time. We don't make sure that we enable anything. It's you and the other person who's on the other side of any chain that you guys are on. You guys enable those transactions. We just make sure that you're making sure the security of whatever protocol you're in, the security of protocol on which that guy is in, is always maintained and is always taken care, and everything is happening as per what the protocol has already decided. So our security completely lies on these protocols itself, on whatever chains we have built. Like if we have built on Ethereum, if we have built on Solana, if we have built on Binance or any other ecosystem, our security lies on them. How secure that ecosystem is.
Okay, but like you rightly mentioned, some of these Web3 entities or companies or products position themselves as completely decentralized solutions, but operate in a very Web2 oriented manner,
Right,
right?
right.
So anything for your users for from the authentication and authorization perspective that you are
So,
changing when it comes to security?
I mean, I'm a very big believer of free market. Okay. So what free market teaches us is that the best solution will always survive, or the public chooses the best particular solution. I mean, that best solution can be due to the price, due to the quality, due to the quantity, due to the supply, demand, whatever. I mean, it could be due to anything. So the thing is, I personally, like, Chidex does not place itself as like the advocate of any particular chain, that okay, this chain is the best chain, so you can come and verify, and this chain is not the best. I mean, people can come from any chain and they can interact with any chain. Ultimately, I believe, like, after they start using solutions like Chidex, or solutions that are very similar to whatever we are offering. Currently, there are none, but once people start using it, they themselves will understand, and they themselves will be drawn to such such solutions. Because you see, I am in talk with quite a lot of people who trade quite a lot heavily on different chains. So earlier they used to depend heavily on Binance Smart Chain, or maybe Polygon. Today they are shifting to Solana, and tomorrow, I mean, it could be anything. So does that happen? Why did that happen? Why are people going from one chain to the other? Why the stats of some chain is good and some chain is not as good as it used to be? It's because people are choosing that particular solution. Okay. And this is what market is at the end of the day. I mean, the market tells you who the actual winner is. Just because you have the best interface does not mean that you're the winner. Just because you are heavily funded does not mean that you're the winner. Just because you have something extra does not mean you're the winner. You need to have the kind of solution that people are searching for, and if you have that, you are the definitely people will choose you. Sooner or later they'll choose you. So that is something I have left it to people for them to understand, rather than me saying anything about anything, because that becomes that because I am in a position where I cannot really say that, okay, do not use this chain because this is bad or something. But it's people who will sooner or later realize, like, how easy or difficult is it to use that particular protocol, and then they'll choose wisely. I believe on their wisdom.
Absolutely. I think security is of paramount importance. And that's probably why, like you mentioned, there's been a shift from some of these EVM based protocols to Solana, and then eventually to protocols like Starknet, where they're using
Yeah.
zero knowledge proof, right? And ZK EVM. So, yeah, I think way to go, way forward. Moving ahead with our segment. So, SSI holds the promise for enhancing security and user control in DeFi, right? like you mentioned. So how do you plan to integrate SSI eventually into your DEX to enhance the user experience and ensure compliance? What strategies are you considering to mitigate the integration challenges?
Hmm. So, so first of all, the thing is, we are introducing something known as profiling on our exchange right now. So it's a very recent phenomena. My team has worked really hard to implement, from there. So my team has worked really hard, to basically implement this particular solution of making a person, giving a person an identity for now. I mean, it's a very straightforward identity as of now. You come from different chains, you come with different wallets. So currently we are only enabling whatever wallets, non-custodial wallets, not the custodial ones. Sooner we will also implement that, not a problem. But right now we are making sure that people who are using Trust Wallet, MetaMask, Phantom Wallet, or whatever wallets that are non-custodial in nature, we are implementing them. So you as a person can have 2 to 3 different wallets, 2 to 3 different addresses. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to accumulate all of them into one, and giving you one identity so that you can verify all your wallets over there. And then whenever you do transactions using any of these wallets as per your wish or any of the chains, so you'll have a track record with you. So that is something we have implemented on a very basic level. But yes, at the very same time, since in future it becomes a data of importance, okay, because you have people, you understand what people are using, what people are liking, okay, and the amount of transactions they're doing, or the amount of time they're spending on a particular protocol, or or on a particular trade. So these data are very important, but at this very same time we want the people to be the actual owners of that particular data, or the actual owners of their identity, which if they want they can share, if they do not want they should not be sharing. So this is where, in very near future, not very long, in the very near future, we are also looking forward to implement SSI solutions, where that is yet to be seen how we are implementing, on what chains the availability is, and what the protocol allows. But at the very same time, I'm very much looking forward to have these solutions on our platform. In fact, I believe, once we have these solutions on the platform, it becomes very easy for a user to actually keep its identity as one, and keep going to different DeFi protocols, or interact with different users on this whole Web3 ecosystem, and have the track record of that communication, and which gives him a very good advantage, or puts him at a very good advantage. So yeah, we are actually looking forward to to implement these in our ecosystem as well.
Yeah, like you rightly mentioned, I think SSI solutions like ours are probably the next generation of passwords to practically address the same concerns of
Right.
privacy of data and you being in control of your own data. So
Right.
we kind of provide users with verifiable credentials that can be used across different platforms eventually. And I think your DEX integrates eventually with the SSI to streamline identity verifications and user onboarding in general. I think
Right.
more like using a single digital passport for all your DeFi travels, eliminating
All
the need
DeFi
of
travels. Yeah.
repetitive KYC processes and all these centralized processes to get rid of all of them. Right,
Right. Right. Right.
right. Cool. So looking ahead, Nitesh, could you share your vision for the role of interoperability that it will play in shaping the next generation of decentralized finance? Furthermore, how do you anticipate these advancements will translate into tangible improvements in user experience, accessibility, and financial inclusivity within the whole DeFi ecosystem?
Okay, so I'll try to answer it from a very basic perspective, from a very uh, basic thing that is happening right now in the market. So uh, if I have to put it this way, at least the market that we understand, like you and I, we both are very familiar with Indian market as such. Okay, so the amount of investors in normal, let's say, normal investment pattern in India is, percentage wise, it's not as huge as it is in America. First of all, we have to understand that. Okay. So then you have several products, like you have mutual funds, you have provident fund bonds, you have multiple bonds where people invest. Either they invest for a long term, or they invest for a short term, or they invest systematically, which is called SIP, a systematical investment, something like
Apply.
that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and let me tell you, I mean, this particular, right now, you see advertisements on television, you see advertisements on internet, you go to any place, you see advertisements of these investment platforms asking people to consider investing in their product or consider investing in market, because that is where the liquidity lies. Like liquidity lies with a normal person, no matter how deep or shallow its pocket is, but the liquidity lies with the people. Okay, and market would love to take that liquidity, give you something in return, and definitely run the business, give you access to multiple things, and also making sure that your wealth is growing from period to period basis. Okay. So it took almost 40 years for the Indian audience to understand, what these mutual funds or investments can do for them. And today, whenever if there's a person who's about to join a job, like a fresher or a fresh pass out from any university with any degree. I mean, whenever he gets his first job. So right now, there's this mentality of not just spending but also investing a bit. Okay, no matter if his investment habits right now, or his overheads may not allow him to invest, but there's a sense of investment with almost every one of us. you know as a college kid or as a middle-aged man with your family, you're always trying to invest. I mean, which was not as strong as 20 years back, I believe. People used to still invest, but not a whole chunk of people used to invest in market. Now very good amount of people are starting investing in the market, and this came as a practice of having good product, good regulation, and a very good education at the very same time. Financial education. I mean, it's still low, but it is increasing. It is increasing exponentially. I believe, in future, the education will play a very important role. Educating the masses will play a very important role, and and second, and not with not a great margin. I think good products will play a very important role. If you don't have good products where you are unable to benefit anyone, I don't think people will come, even if they have good education. Like even if they have awareness about a certain industry where they can make money or they can do something about it. So I believe the DeFi ecosystem, there are, I think education is one of the most important areas where we have to work. But at the very very same time, I mean, and it should not be delayed more. We have to work on good products as well, because currently I mean, it's not a secret anymore. The ecosystem is seen as a scam ecosystem right now in many people's eyes. Even though many people have adopted, many institutions have adopted in recent times, many people are looking forward to to start something with Web3 ecosystem. But at the very same time, there's still a general perception of scam. And the reason is, I mean, there is no proper regulation. Secondly, there are very bad products out there, very very bad products. I mean, products that would not even work in Web2 industry are sometimes thriving in Web3 industry. So these kind of habits, or these kinds of actions are very questionable in nature. Like, how is it working? Nobody understands. Like, people inside Web3 ecosystem do not understand. People outside Web3 ecosystem do not understand. So unless and until we have really good product, after the education, definitely education is important. Educating people about what this ecosystem can do for you, or what this industry can do for you, why you should come and invest, or why you should come and trade, or why you should come and use this particular industry. That is important. But after that, the most important thing is product. If we are not working towards a better product, then we are definitely not enabling the next generation of people to come and invest inside this industry, and that is the biggest hindrance of the industry. So, but the future is actually looking bright. The only reason why I'm telling this is because now institutional players are all in. recent few months have shown us, like how institutional money is creeping in inside the Web3 ecosystem, which is a very good news. 80% of it is a very good news. 20% of still is not that great of a news, but at the very same time, it's a very positive a jump for Web3 ecosystem from being just a scammer's paradise to somebody where people are looking forward to grow their wealth, looking forward to to invest and hold for a longer duration of time. So that is there, but at the very same time, I think it's not just enough. I think good products need to come. They need to be made accessible to normal people. So that is one of the challenges I think we still have, and I truly believe we need to solve that as well. As ecosystem partners, you and me, both of us, even though we have our own personal, very good products, but I think we need to encourage more good products to be out there, to be able to create an ecosystem where everything is working with each other.
I think we are trying to do the same with us being the very active Web3
Right.
advocates on our individual capacities in social media. And I think this Soul Show in itself could also lay the very foundation of
Yes, yes,
such
yes. So this is where the
journey.
education begins.
Exactly, exactly. So I think you raised a very important point. Like Web3 education in general is going to be very important going forward, but without the application of this education in terms of actual problems, real use cases being solved through innovative products, I think this
Right.
education will not, yield any result per se. So I think in general, interoperability is like the jet fuel that will propel, the whole decentralized identity as well as DeFi to new heights. It'll foster a
Right.
unified ecosystem where users will actually seamlessly access diverse financial services and applications, and it'll be more like a global financial marketplace where borders are irrelevant and users will have complete control over their assets and identities. Yeah,
Right. Right.
absolutely. Okay. So moving forward, probably, so as far as collaborations go, collaboration emerges as a recurring theme in most of our discussions surrounding interoperability.
Right.
Mostly, even when we are talking to our clients or our, generally audience. So, given the imperative for cooperation between, disparate blockchain projects, what strategies do you advocate for fostering a more collaborative environment within the whole DeFi ecosystem? Additionally, how do you envision leveraging partnerships and collective efforts to accelerate innovation and overcome these challenges associated with interoperability at par on a very broader scale?
Very a very right and important question, not just from partnership perspective or getting people to work together, but also from the product's perspective as well. Because I'll give you an example of a company that I won't be naming, but the company was it came up with a very good solution in the existing Web3 market, but the only problem is it could not understand how to basically get people from different ecosystems on their platform. So this is where they actually failed, and so whenever we are entering into a partnership or whenever we are entering, it's all about what we're enabling for the other communities. So I mean, Web3 ecosystem in general is dependent highly on the community. Like, we are for the people, people are here for us. Okay, so if I'm giving them a very good solution or I'm giving them a very good product, then they're also enabling us their support by making sure that they are bringing other people who can actually use our support or our product, or can understand what we are trying to do. So when it comes to very good partnerships, I think there are multiple right now we are at such a stage that all of us are building, which is a very good thing. All of us are supposed to build very good products, but at the very same time, we're also supposed to not solve every problem. Like, for example, what if Chidex tomorrow starts solving SSI, like starts having its own SSI? Okay, so that will be a bit stupid, to be frank. Okay, we can in fact use somebody who's giving this solution in the, like, Solverse, for example. So if we have a partnership with them, so this enables us to make sure that, as I said, like, for us, it's very important that people hold their data, people are enabled to use their data, or they can have their at least self secure sovereign identity. So having a partnership in place with you will help me more rather than me building on it on my own. Because then again, I'll use different sets of protocols, a different programming altogether, a different language altogether. That in future, if I want to implement with you, will be of no use, because then I won't be able to use your ecosystem, neither will you be able to access my ecosystem, which will hinder my ecosystem to a certain, it'll hinder the growth of my ecosystem as well as your ecosystem. So this is where I personally believe that we come that we should always think about having, for example, I have one idea which I should be able to take carry forward, and at the very same time I should be look out for certain individual ideas that I think should be implemented rather than me building everything on my own. So and since everything is going to be a community effort, and since all of us are always looking to interact with different communities, try to understand what their problems is, so it's a very good platform where I think people should come together, they should discuss about what they're building, and they should form very good partnerships and alliances rather than trying to build one solution again and again. So when I was building when we started building a Dex, so this was the very first question that I used to get, and which was a very valid question. Why are you building Dex? Like, there are so many Dexes out there. Why again you are building a Dex? I mean, anybody who first of all, the name itself, the name is so simple. I mean, it resonates so much with the common public. And since our whole aim was to to be in touch with all those common public who love basic things in the life, so we named it very basically. We didn't name it in a very fancy manner. We wanted it to resonate with a normal person as well. So that's why we named it Chai Dex. So first of all, Chai Dex itself, sometimes not used to give the vibe to the very creme de la creme crowd that maybe there are some different scammers out there, trying to attract, trying to sell their tokens, in the name of chai to different people, and then maybe they'll do rug pull or something like that. So this is where the question came, and I wasn't deterred or discouraged by it. In fact, that gave me a proper sense of problem that this industry is facing. You see, everybody's trying to build everything. There are so many dexes out there with no amount of proper solution to the people. Yeah, it's just a dex. Come on, it's decentralized. Okay, what am I supposed to do with decentralization if I'm not even in the industry, right? So that's one of the things that we have to realize, that we need to solve a problem or bring a solution to the masses who are already existing, and also try to bring in more masses using our expertise rather than trying to build everything from scratch. That is pretty stupid. I mean, I'll just put it flat out there. So I think partnerships are very important, especially in Web3, especially in a very new industry like this. And I will always encourage very good and meaningful partnerships with not only Chidex but also with Solverse.
Absolutely. I think interoperability thrives on collaboration, and by working together,
Right,
blockchain
right,
or Web3 projects can actually develop not just these products to solve problems, but also open standards and interoperable
right.
bridges, fostering a more vibrant and innovative landscape for the whole decentralized ecosystem. Now imagine, like the same example like I took earlier, like imagine airlines forming alliances to create a seamless digital global travel network. I mean, pretty much
Right.
the same concept applies to
Concept.
interoperable, ecosystems like ours. And I think
Right.
you rightly mentioned about, you choosing the name of Chidex. I think brand recognition and branding goes very easy if you can actually come up with a name that is very easily,
Right.
relatable to the common public, right?
Right.
Absolutely. Cool. So I think we'll move to the next section. We are introducing something of a new section altogether, and
Okay.
you know, uh,
Hmm.
this time at Soul Show. So this will be more like a rapid fire round. So
Okay. So
I'll just ask you a couple of.
I'm your first experiment, I believe.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So probably I'll just ask you a few questions, and then
Yeah.
you can
Sure.
tell me like the very first few things that comes to your mind, like short, crisp answers, and then we'll delve down deeper at the end of it, in the segment
Perfect. Sure.
into each of your
Sure. Sure.
answers.
Sure.
Okay. Now the first question is, what excites you the most about the future of interoperable DeFi?
This making sure that there's only one source of truth.
Okay. what is the biggest hurdle to overcome for widespread interoperability adoption?
The bridges are themselves the biggest hurdle.
Okay.
The
Okay. I'm
bridging solutions
assuming
are
that goes
the
hand
wrap
in hand with
tokens.
the UX you mean.
Yes, definitely. The wrap tokens actually. The
Right.
wrap tokens are the biggest hurdle right now. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now, will interoperability render centralized exchanges completely obsolete?
For most of the time, yes. If there
Okay.
is interoperability, then there's a high chance that you can basically swap any token from any protocol to any protocol. And then if something like this happens, which Chidex is enabling, I don't think people will any longer need to use centralized exchanges on a huge scale. On a huge scale, they won't have
On a
to.
large scale, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And how can developers best prepare for this interoperable future of DeFi?
They need not stick to just one protocol or just one standard framework of one protocol, because there is no standard, there is no one framework, there are multiple frameworks. Please get yourself dirty in different protocols as well, and try to at least understand, if not work. So that is the very first step I think developers need to take.
Okay. Okay. And any final thoughts or predictions on the impact of interoperability in the blockchain landscape?
So basically, interoperability will definitely enable the single source of truth and the security of once, in case the interoperability is done in a very textbook manner, or in the manner that we are supposed to have, that it was supposed to happen, then I think the scams will reduce to by 90 to 95% in the industry as such, because everywhere there'll be verification. Every chain can check every other chain's transactions, and I think the scams will reduce by 90 to 95%. I'm not talking about the meme coins, that'll still keep going on, but the only valuable thing that will be able to do is will try to reduce the scams when it comes to that comes due to lack of transparency or lack of source of truth, or just by copying or vampire attacks. So that will be reduced to 90-95%.
Absolutely. Okay. I will also like to share my insights on each of these
Sure, please.
points.
Yes.
So,
I hope I had these questions I would have asked you.
okay. So for me, I think the most exciting aspect of this whole discussion also was the ability to create, like you rightly mentioned, a truly borderless and user-centric DeFi and Web3 ecosystem experience
Right.
per se, right? And the biggest hurdle I feel, is more like mitigating security risks associated with cross-chain bridges and
Hmm.
fostering a very widespread adoption, like you rightly mentioned, of
Right.
interoperable standards. But since the whole Web3 ecosystem in itself is currently in the making, and I think it's a very good thing that you and I are both building in the very same space, working
Right.
towards our common goal of decentralization and interoperability. I think we can eventually be the pioneers of this, setting the whole standard out there, right? And centralized exchanges, I think interoperability can definitely render them, or at least make them very less relevant by offering a very more and open and user controlled financial ecosystem, which is definitely required given the rightly, like you rightly mentioned, the hacks and the data losses and the asset losses that happened in most of these ethical hacks, right? And that just keeps on happening on each and every ecosystem without
Right.
naming any major project out there. Okay. And in terms of developer preparation, since me and you are very close to both these developer fraternity, right? I
Right.
would
Right.
rather say, uh, familiarize yourself with emerging technologies and interoperability protocols, and explore
Right.
building dApps that leverage this, especially the cross-chain functionality per se, right? And my
True.
final thoughts would be, definitely, as we rightly discussed, pretty much the theme of our whole discussion today was interoperability is definitely the key to unlocking the full potential of DeFi and the whole ecosystem of transactions, creating a very truly inclusive financial future for all of us. I mean, nevertheless, to say that SSI finds a very massive use case, especially even in the financial ecosystems per se,
Right.
right? Okay, let's just see if we have any other questions from our audience in the meantime. Otherwise, I have a very interesting question for you. I'll just get my charger off.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, in the meantime that we get these questions, I'll go ahead with my question. Now,
Sure.
everyone knows that Bitcoin halving is planned for this year, and you are going to be a part of your own. You're going to be your stepping into the whole decentralized finance ecosystem. What impact do you see Bitcoin halving bringing to the whole DeFi ecosystem?
So I mean, to the ecosystem, I personally don't think that halving is going to bring anything technically to the ecosystem. But the financial aspects are going to be different. I mean, as the days pass on, and after every 4 years, there's going to be a new era of FOMO. But at the very same time, it's a bit difficult question to answer right now. You see, quite a lot of institutional players have come in the market. Now, instead of you purchasing Bitcoin, the actual Bitcoin from the Bitcoin network, then came, centralized exchange that gave you the custody of Bitcoin, even if they had, sometimes they did not had. Sometimes they purchased Bitcoin from your money. Sometimes they purchased Bitcoin after you paid them so that, they can make some margin. So some sort. Now is the turn of these financial institutes. They are going to sell you Bitcoins. I mean, this is what I'm seeing. Halving has got much to do with these people rather than people like you and me or the people who want to be in this ecosystem for good. So I personally believe technically there's not going to be much of a difference, but when it comes to the institutional money, now they're going to own most of the Bitcoins, whatever new Bitcoins are out there. So I'll give you a stat, like a very basic stat of what's happening right now. First of all, there is so right now what's at 70K. Each Bitcoin is valued at 70K. So there is around 110 to 120 billion of free floating Bitcoins. Now, what do you mean by free floating Bitcoins? We all know that there's going to be 21 million Bitcoins in its eternity. Okay, by 2140, there's going to be 21 million Bitcoins in circulation. Right now, there are around 19 and a half, more than 19 and a half million Bitcoins that have already been minted. Okay. Out of which, most of the Bitcoins are lost or burnt because, I mean, many people, who were very the early people or early adopters who did not understand what it could bring to the market, lost it somewhere it's lost. It's lost forever. It cannot be recovered. Then comes the second group of people who have hold it for eternity. Like they're not going to sell. So for them, it is more important than gold. Out of which Satoshi, the wallet of Satoshi, is one of them. One of the biggest holders of Bitcoin itself. Now after that, there are hardly what can I say 1.8 to 2 million Bitcoins that are available in free market, which are valued at around right now it's valued at around 120 billion dollars, out of which ETFs they themselves have taken approximately 20 to 30 billion dollars worth of uh, 20 to 30 billion dollars worth of Bitcoins. So right now what people like you and me are doing, like who are really interested in Bitcoin, are only playing with around 50 to 60 billion dollars worth of Bitcoin. Sooner these 50 to 60 billion dollars of Bitcoin may go to these institutional players only, because what they will do is now they will offer you a premium which you won't be able to reject. So you will buy that, cash yourself out, maybe invest in some different areas, and sooner than later you'll realize that almost all these Bitcoins are lying with these people, and now you don't even have to use Bitcoin wallet to hold a Bitcoin. Now you have to use NSE or NSE wallet, or maybe NYSE wallet, or a Nasdaq wallet, or whatever these wallets are to hold
Demat.
the
Yep.
Bitcoin that are ETF. So I personally like this is what the more the halvings come, the more institutional money will flow in, and the more access to Bitcoin you will have. So this is what my prediction is, and let's see how it goes. I don't.
Right, but I think my question was more or less outlined towards, I think, like you rightly mentioned, it's going to bring back the attention towards these massive financial institutional players, right, who hold the most of the, or the
Right,
sharks who hold most of these Bitcoins. But then
Right.
since they are going to be driving the prices in a
Bitcoin,
way,
yeah.
right, after
Mm-hmm.
halving. Now that's going to get people, the common public, a little more keen and interested, like we saw at the, around 2021 end, or close to 2022. Like there was a peak or shoot or a bull run for Bitcoin in general, right? So a
Right.
lot of people, a lot of these financial players, like big institutional players, they were driving the price up so hard that people got
Right.
intrigued by Bitcoin. Especially in India,
Mm-hmm.
we had millions of users, literally being onboarded onto the decentralized exchanges and crypto. Even if they knew or they did not know about Bitcoin, they were
Mm-hmm.
directly creating their profiles on these centralized exchanges, and they were buying whatever small amount, you know in that 50-60 billion dollar of
Yeah.
market cap that you're mentioning,
Yes.
and then them investing in this. So if they come into this ecosystem, right, I feel that's where I was talking about. So if more and more people join the ecosystem, will Bitcoin halving impact the user adoption per se in general on a global scale? And that, how does that impact ecosystems and players like us or products like us in terms of
So
user
I mean,
adoption?
so user adoption when it comes, I mean, if you're talking about what kind of tech development you're expecting after the user adoption of Bitcoin is done. So let me put it this way. I mean, we watch Bitcoin as gold. It's the gold standard of all cryptocurrencies out there, right? I mean, it's basically being used as hedge against inflation rather than anything else. So I mean. So if you have to really, I mean, I certainly don't have, a very particular answer to, how it will impact the question, because right now there are like thousands of thoughts inside my mind that, that is going on with respect to, how Bitcoin, who is exactly going to hold Bitcoin. So that is the first question that, that I have to answer. I have to seek the answer right now. The second thing is, uh, how did the gold impact uh, a certain industry? I mean, the problem with gold was, since it's metaphorically very similar to what gold is. Okay. So, I mean, how did gold impact anything in the market or in the industry? Is I'm still trying to understand the parallels of how that will create a market for Bitcoin, like, or for Web3 in general, like the adoption of Web3. Will it improve the adoption of Web3, or maybe it'll create something else, that is yet to be answered. But at the very same time, we have to ask ourselves, how did a country holding an amount of gold impacted their technological development or their financial development? How did that impact? So I personally believe after World War II, as we can see, all these Western countries, they started holding gold, and there was a boom of technological advancements. One of which also became internet, and we are using internet. One of which became computers. We are using computers. So I mean, that gives you a very good space to start experimenting. So if people are holding, if more people are coming in the industry, thanks to institutional investor or any investor in general, so I think there will be more liquidity in Web3, and maybe that will enable us to grow more, or to experiment more, and also to create more products. That's what That's something that I'm still trying to figure out, and that's the only metaphor that I can think of right now.
Okay, let's hope for the best. Let's hope that happens. Let's
Yes,
hope
yes,
we
yes.
get more liquidity and more
I
investment in
hope
our
I'm
budgets.
Yeah, I hope I'm not trying to be pessimistic at all. Like, I'm not against people holding, like, these institutions holding Bitcoin. Neither am I against anything in general. Like, I'm just trying to figure out, like, how will this play out, in the market, since we all consider it to be of a golden standard or something very similar to gold. So how did gold impact the advancements or the innovations? I think this is how this will impact. And but since Bitcoin becomes a borderless mechanism, so I think it will impact the industry in general rather than a country in general, because after World War III, it were the few countries who hold gold, got the most benefit out of it. But I think in Bitcoin, the things are going to be a bit different, because it's not exactly being owned by a country, or even if a company of a country is owning most of it, I think it still benefit the industry in general, like the whole industry, the whole Web3 ecosystem in general.
Absolutely. Let's hope for that. I mean, for the endless possibilities that are possible, of course, as when such big institutional players or sharks are involved, anything and everything is possible. I mean, there are
Yes.
more than 200 countries, right? Literally.
Right.
Okay. We do have one question from Kavita. So she wants to know, do you see SSID playing a pivotal role once there is a wallet that holds both ID and assets in the same wallet to combat some of the government trepidations about DEXs?
I do think that is very possible. So first of all, I'll talk about my DEX because it in true sense is a DEX rather than there are few swapping protocols that are popularly known as DEX, which they are exactly not. They are swapping protocols at the end of the day. They're made for a protocol. But when I talk about my DEX in general, I think having a DID with SSI in a wallet will definitely help us keep people connected to each other rather than somebody keeping an eye on those people. Rather than regulations forcing them to do things in a certain way. And people have a different set of ideas. They want to experiment with something. So this gives, I personally think, it'll give them quite a lot of freedom to experiment within the ecosystem rather than worrying about what the regulatory challenges are, where the regulation lies, and stuff like
Okay. Let's hope for the best again. So if we have any other questions, okay, we have a lot of them points, but mostly they have been appreciation for you, your thoughts.
that. Thank you.
Okay. So does Richard Cardwell says good afternoon, and he appreciated your thoughts on combating duplication of documents and identities, and with the whole one source of truth being the very crucial element of interoperability in going forward. So I think we don't have a lot of questions probably, and we are almost towards the end of this whole segment. So if no further questions, probably I'll just wind it up for now. Looking forward to much more insightful discussions with you in person as well as on the Soul Show. So thank you all for
Thanks a
joining
lot.
us
Thanks.
today. It's been an incredible session filled with valuable insights. Let's give a big round of applause for our guest speaker, Nitesh, for sharing his
Thank you. Thanks a
expertise.
lot. Thanks a lot.
We hope to see you again in our future events, right?
Thank you.
And audience,
Looking
please
forward to
follow
meet you guys in
Soulverse.
person as well. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Audience, please follow Soulverse for more updates on upcoming events and stay connected with the whole latest updates happening in the world of technology, Web3, and innovation. Get the opportunity to be a part of much more insightful sessions with all our upcoming Soul shows. Have a great evening, guys, and please do follow Nitesh as well as his company. We look forward to your product. Uh,
Thank you.
Great
Thanks a
talking to
lot.
you, Nitesh. Thank you all.
Great talking to you, Charles. Thanks a lot.
See you. Bye bye.